it still didn't feel right to have kids.
When should I have a kid? What's the right time? I got pregnant. That meant that I had to leave the baby.
If she was going to be on call, then I was going to be on call.
I could not have any vacation for the rest of the entire year.
But we are selfless people.
That meant that I had to leave the baby with somebody, right?
So that somebody was me. And fortunately, I had the time to do it.
And again, these shifts were on the weekends. So I would work a full 40 hours during the week. And then we also had these, at least one, 24-hour shift each weekend, roughly.
Usually for you, it's either Saturday
or Sunday.
Or it'll be a Friday, Sunday. Because I remember, you'd have those two shifts.
Yeah.
But the good news, again, I was in a specialty where I could plan around some things. So I made sure that if she was going to be on call, then I was going to be on call. And if I was scheduled to be on call, then I'd either swap it with another resident. And if that was not possible, then we'd hire a babysitter. Or
yeah. But we were usually able to sort of organize our schedule so that we could both, or someone could be home.
Yeah, someone's always
so that was, I think, you just have to really communicate, and we really had to plan our schedules. Because it was hard.
Yeah, hard.
He was in residency we got 6 weeks for maternity leave. I actually took my maternity leave on my due date. That's when I started it. But Isaiah didn't come for another 2 weeks.
No,
so
after. 1 week after.
No, it was 2 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah, it was 1 week and 5 days, something like that. So I ended up with 2 weeks of maternity leave without a baby, and then I only actually had 4 weeks with the baby. I don't know if that makes sense. So out of the 6 weeks that I had, I was basically at home waiting for the baby. I ended up being induced, but I only had 4 weeks with him once he was born. So I went back to work when he was only 4 weeks old. And that's when having my mom come and help was super helpful. It was very difficult to go back to work. Still breastfeeding, having to pump at work, and having a 4-week-old and doing on the weekends 30-hour shifts. It was very, very hard. Having family, my mom coming for those couple of months was very, very helpful.
Yeah, the one thing that you can't really plan for though is with kids that go to daycare. So eventually he went to daycare.
Yeah, when he was around 3 months old, or 4 months old, because that's after your mom left.
Yeah, exactly, about 4 months. Yeah, you can't control when they get sick, and when they get sick, that means one of us has to come. One of us has to leave work. So it was kind of tough trying to decide who could leave depending on what vacations were being planned or what the demand was at work. It's really hard to just get coverage, And that, I'm going to segue, this is actually a perfect setup for the COVID-19, because towards the end of our training, COVID-19 happened. And man, that really devastated us, because there were times where we would take multiple sick days in a row because we didn't have coverage or it was too late to find somebody to babysit our kids.
Yeah, because again, his daycare was closed. So someone had to stay with him, and we didn't have family in the area.
Yep.
So then it was a combination of us trying to use sick days, and then plus,
depending on who you were talking to, either they'd be afraid to come and babysit because we were in the healthcare. Yeah. And I actually was in a very I was very high risk in the terms of I was intubating people,
Yeah.
So
and I had, during that time, I actually had to work night shifts. So we ended up finding a medical student as a babysitter who was awesome.
Yeah.
And she would actually stay overnight.
Shout out to you.
Yeah, because we both, I think, had at some point doing night shifts.
Oh yeah, we did that's true. Oh my goodness.
So you get help where you could get help.
Yeah.
It's complicated if you're both in training, you're both in residency. That's why we say if you can do it in medical school, I think
better.
You have more leverage. Yeah.
You're not going to be on a night call.
You're more dispensable member of the team.
Yeah.
So once you're in residency, you're your doctor. You're they're relying on you. So coverage is very difficult sometimes. So, what other challenges do you think that we faced with having a kid in residency? Yeah, I think one of the hardest things for me was actually breastfeeding and pumping at work, and doing that, especially when I was doing the 24-hour shifts. So it was sometimes awkward because I, had to breastfeed or find times to pump at work. And I often was doing that at the reading room station, trying to do it discreetly, sometimes while reading out. Like there's all these different things. That's probably a topic for another day that we can get into, but yeah.
I wouldn't say this is crazy, but having a baby is more expensive than you think.
Yeah.
After she stopped pumping, the time we started buying formula, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're easily adding hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, he was like 9 months or so, and formula is expensive.
Yeah.
I had wanted to breastfeed for a year, but I ended up only making it to 9 months, and then so we started doing formula at around 9 months, and that's expensive. So like the cost of like just having a kid, so many daycare, you know, if you need formula, like clothing, like all of those things. If you're a trainee, like it's a lot.
Yeah. And I've heard of people who were not in medicine, or maybe one of their partners was in medicine, having kids, and after having the kid, that one partner would stay home, whether it's the guy or the girl, didn't matter, just whoever the non-medical person was. And at first I was like, that doesn't even make sense, why would you do that? But when you actually sit down and add up all the costs of taking care of the kid, having either having a nanny or sending the kid to babysitter, and then finding coverage for those times that you're not using them, I mean, it could easily be somebody's like salary for a year. So I can see why it might make sense for somebody to say, I'm not working for however long, and I'm still be with my kid. Not only that, you have personal time to bond with them, and then you're kind of raising them in the way that you want. On the flip side though, we can both easily say that when he was young, like none of us wanted to be constantly with him. Like you need a break. You can't just be with the baby, especially when they're not talking. Now, like it's different. Like he's awesome, he can talk and all this stuff. But like when they're a baby and all they know how to do is cry when they're hungry, when they're asleep, like it can get a little stressful. Like you love your kid, but it can also be stressful. And so,
especially when you're so busy at work, and then you come home and then it's like a whole nother job.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who has kids knows that. Like, and you work full time. Like it's.
You're coming home from one job to the other, exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes we would actually talk to each other about like who's gonna take care of the baby so one can go sleep, you know?
Yeah, especially like when I was doing the 30 hours, which really, I felt bad for him because I would go, especially during my call year when he was very young, I would go to work on a Saturday, go in like at 7 a.m. on Saturday, and then come back at like 10 a.m. on Sunday, and having worked the entire night and not slept the entire night, I would want to come home and sleep. But I also know he's been up with the baby for all that time. So it's like you come home and you want to sleep, but you also want to relieve your partner who has been with the kid. I don't know, it was hard. I feel like I never slept. So we like sometimes did shift work with him.
Shift work. And honestly, as soon as you get your kid on a sleep schedule, ooh, life becomes way better.
Yeah, we were lucky in the sense that from around 6 months on, he like slept through the night.
Yep. And then also
went
naps.
to bed, and then he napped like twice.
Yeah,
during the day for like 2 hours. Those
exactly.
were good. I wish he still did that.
Yeah, he was like on a 7 to 7 sleep schedule.
And then plus like a total of 4 hours of naps during the day.
Yeah. So
man, those are the good old days. Now he's 3 and it's a struggle to get him to go to sleep. He does not want to sleep. He wants to talk. He wants to play with his toys.
But I love it too. It's like he's his own person already, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's having a kid. It's great. Like it changes you. I don't know how to better explain it, but it changes you in so many things.
Yeah, I mean, time management. That was another thing because one of the things that I was really concerned about with having a kid was that in radiology we have like notoriously very difficult board exams, and like at my institution several years in a row, a lot of people failed their exams, and like having a kid was like just that extra, man, how am I gonna have this time to study? But somehow I think that actually forced me to really like, prioritize things and really manage my time appropriately. And I was happy to say that I passed the first time, despite having all this extra stuff, going on at home. So that's a testimony.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there are so many, we're just thankful to God for so many things throughout our residency, so many ways that he saw us through.
Yeah. Again, I really think that just having a kid forces you to take your time seriously. It's no coincidence that those people who had kids in medical school did very well, also say that, if you have kids in residency, be sure to look at the policy of the maternity leave.
Yeah.
They recently just changed it for anesthesiology. Now you can take, if you're a woman, you can take it for 8 weeks. I don't know what the policy is for males, but where I trained, you could take 2 weeks off from maternity leave or paternity leave, and then there are some places that will also give you 8 weeks off too. But keep in mind, when they talk about these 8 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it may be for your institution, that's like all your vacation time plus that extra 2 to 4 weeks.
So yeah, for me, like taking 6 weeks of maternity leave meant that I could not have any vacation for the rest of the entire year. So like Isaiah was born in September. So from September until July 1st, like I could not take any other vacation time. Like I couldn't take any other sick days. Like that was it. So that was very difficult. It doesn't make sense. Residency is hard. It's a hard time to have a kid. If you can have them earlier, do it. But not to say that it's impossible, because we clearly did it. Yeah. But it's difficult. But read your policies.
Yeah, read your policies.
And I could have, potentially taken, again, I had 4 weeks with him before I had to go back to work. I could have taken more time, but that would have meant prolonging my residency training, and that's something I didn't really want to do. So, yeah.
I know people now at Stanford that are having kids, and I think it's a supportive environment. But I don't think it's uncommon for them to actually prolong their residency. And I don't think that's even a bad thing, Like I think the further along I go in life, the more I realize you need to do you first. Like you need to take care of yourself first. Whatever you need to do to thrive, do it. Doesn't matter what other people think, do it. Yeah. They're not living with you. They're not living they're not suffering the consequences that you suffer. They're not going to reap the benefits that you gain. So
if you want to have a family during residency, you want to have kids, do it. Yeah. They'll work around it. Your program will work around it. There's a way to do it. Not to say that it won't be difficult, but I don't think you should put your life on hold for a career. Yeah. I mean, having kids is important.
But some people may not agree with you. But if you think that family is a priority to you, then don't delay.
Yeah, and you're like, your mental health is important. All of those things are important. I think in retrospect, it probably would have been smart for me to have prolonged. Like going back, I think was hard. Going back after having the baby was very difficult. I remember, being on call at night and like trying to read 140 studies and like trying to pump at the same time and like just crying because I wanted to go home and like be with the baby and like, it's do what's good for you, for your mental health, I think, and for what your goals are for your family. Yep. So there's always a workaround.
I'm definitely a pro take care of yourself, because if you can't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of your family, you can't take care of your patients. So I know a lot of you are selfless people. We are selfless people. However, when it comes to our training, I'm not going to say selfish. You just need to be mindful of your well-being, and that's the most important thing. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. So
Anything else to add? I think we've covered a lot. Let us know if you guys have additional questions, or if there are things that we didn't touch upon. Anything else that you want to know about our experience with having kids while in training. And I think we do plan on having more kids soon. I think we'll wait until we're done with fellowship and go from there. Just like, I think we want 3. We'll just pump them out after
Isaiah
fellowship.
Wants a baby girl.
Isaiah wants a baby sister. He asks for a sister all the time. So.
Let's work on that.
Okay.
Don't cut that out either.
All right. As always, thank you for watching.
Deuces.
Bye.